Well, we've come across Hosana and he's just killed a big female Nyala. So we're just trying to get in to show you what's going on. But there's also hyenas on the way in as well. So they are going to be with us fairly shortly, and I think they're going to steal it away. But that is a fresh kill that he's just managed to take down. He's just only eaten the back end. You can see, look how heavily he's panting. He's managed to just pull that down, and it's a really big Nyala that he's managed to get. But the hyenas, as we were arriving, I saw hyenas coming this way, and so I think he's going to lose his kill in the next few minutes, and this is going to be a bit of a shame because he's done so well to grab a Nyala of that size. That really is quite something to see. Well, I mean, he's really graduated, hasn't he? He's gone from killing small things to rather large things. Well done, boy. That is very good. Now, you're going to need to take that up a tree very quickly because you're going to get found out. Here comes the hyenas now. So the hyenas are coming now. They're going to see him. I don't know if he's seen the hyena yet. But the hyena's on my back right. It's going to eventually start coming past. Now, he's going to see the hyena coming in the next 2 minutes. Now, poor Hosana, I think, is unfortunately going to end up losing this kill to this hyena. He's not going to keep it if he doesn't put his head up shortly. Hyena, he's seen the hyena now. Let's see if he tries. He's either going to be brave and try and chase the hyena, or he's going to try and pick this up. But this Nyala weighs so much already. It hasn't been taken, the stomach hasn't been taken out. It hasn't really been eaten, and so it's going to be quite tricky. So we're going to open this up to a wider audience. So I'm going to keep quiet quickly. Well, it is a warm welcome to South Africa. As you can see, we've got a leopard that's just killed a Nyala, and look, it's trying to take it up the tree. It's going to be very difficult. This is a very heavy carcass for a young leopard. And there comes the hyena. The hyena's coming in. It's going to try and steal it from this poor leopard. Yep, unfortunately, it's just too heavy for that leopard to have taken up. He's a young male leopard, and that's a massive carcass that he's trying to take up. And unfortunately for him, it really was going to be too heavy. He tried his absolute best to get it up there, but that's ridiculous. Now, this is insane. Now you'll see the hyena is going to go absolutely crazy. It's going to tear into this carcass and try and eat as much as it can, as quick as it can, to try and get his full. Now what will happen, I think, with this carcass, because it's quite big, is that leopard is going to be quite clever about it. The hyena will eat itself stupid. It's going to eat to the point where it can't actually fit in another thing, and as long as other hyenas don't arrive here, then there's a potential for this leopard to be able to steal back his carcass. But it's such a shame because he must have killed this within the last half an hour, and unfortunately for him, he's now lost it to the hyena for now, but hopefully he'll be able to get it back again. He's quite good at that. He often catches quite big meals and they get taken by hyenas, and he'll then come in and kind of take back whatever's left over. But this is absolutely epic. In the madness, I forgot to introduce myself. So my name is Tristan, and this on camera I've got David this afternoon. It really is the most spectacular way to spend an afternoon. We've been so fortunate. We've just come into this area and we managed to find these guys, and it's all just happened as soon as we arrived. Basically, we just found him kind of standing over the Nyala, and then these hyena arrived. Really quite epic. Poor Hosana, he's unfortunately lost his meal for now. So Joe, yes, bad hyena, unfortunately, but that is the way of the wild. And hyenas also have to eat, and the hyena has obviously heard the scream of this Nyala when it died and was throttled, and that's why it's come in to investigate, unfortunately. Now, for those of you who have joined us who don't know who this is, well, we've got Hosana on the left, which is a young male leopard of about 2 years and 8 months old. He is the youngest of the sort of male leopards that we see in this area, and he's known as the Little Chief. That's what his name means, and he really is probably one of the most favorite leopards we have here. He's incredibly relaxed, and he spends a vast majority of his time on Djuma, and he really kind of entertains us with all kinds of incredible sightings. But I'm sad for him that he just couldn't get it up, but I didn't think he would be able to. Unfortunately for him, it's really just too heavy a carcass for him to be able to have hoisted it before that hyena got in. If he had tried it before the hyenas arrived, he might have got it right, but you can see he jumped, and the weight of that carcass just pulled him down a little bit. That carcass probably weighs nearly what he does, so to take his own body weight as well as this carcass's weight up is really quite tricky. And now you see what he's doing. He's just sitting there waiting, biding his time. He's going to hope that this hyena finishes up and gets full and his stomach swollen, and then he'll be able to kind of go in there and try and grab whatever remains left. So Evan, the reason he's not attacking the hyena is that he knows a fight with the hyena is in all likelihood going to injure him quite badly. And a bite from a hyena on the leg means that this poor leopard would be badly injured and probably wouldn't actually be able to move and hunt and find food for itself. So much easier to go and find another prey item than it is to be able to kind of fight with hyena and then limp around and possibly then die. So they're very wary of hyena's strength, and they know that they can rather get a food at another time. But you can see that hyena's going right into the cavity of that Nyala, and what it's trying to get is all of the stomach content. So it's trying to get bits of stomach, bits of liver, those kind of things that are full of nutrients, and once it's eaten all of that, then it will start tucking into the meat around the rump area. What's going to be interesting with this is that hyena is never going to finish this Nyala. It's going to be far too much food for this hyena, and so what will happen is it will eat and eat and eat and eat. Its stomach is going to get to the point where it cannot take in anymore, and that might be the opportunity for our young leopard to run in and grab it once again and then try get it up into the tree once it weighs less. The problem is that with this hyena here, I wouldn't be surprised that more hyenas arrive. The clan that we've got in this area is quite big at the moment. Well, it's not the most massive clan, but there's lots of them around because there's a den not too far from here, and that means that they all might start coming in with the commotion. Luckily, so far, there hasn't been any noise, so the hyena didn't cackle or make any kind of noise, and neither did the leopard, and so it's still quite quiet at this stage. Now, you might hear some vehicles in the background. That's others that are just joining us to come and see what's going on and to see this unbelievable sighting that we're having. This is really quite spectacular. The visual obviously is quite tricky because we're in a dense area right on the edge of a very steep embankment that leads down into a riverbed, the perfect place for a leopard to go about its business. And I actually think what this leopard probably did is he probably lay in one of these little furrows and waited for this Nyala to come along and then grab it. Now, Lisa, will the hyena eat the face? The hyena will eat everything it can. So it will start in the innards and get all those really nutritious organs, and then it's going to go through onto the sort of rump end, and then it will eat even the legs, the face. It just won't consume some of the big spinal bones that these bushbuck have, although they've got very powerful jaws. Now, if some of you are a bit squeamish, I do apologize, and it's probably a good time to look away, because when that hyena's feeding, he's going to be pulling out all kinds of bits out of this poor Nyala, and obviously the Nyala can't feel anything anymore, but it's clearly kind of going to get fed on quite quickly. But it's amazing the haste at which a hyena eats. It's pretty incredible. So, Nina, it depends on the age of the leopard. It depends on how big and powerful that leopard is. So a really big male, so somebody like Hosana's dad, Tingana, who's a big sort of 85, 90 kilogram leopard, well, he would easily probably be able to have taken that up before the hyena got there. But because Hosana's still growing, he hasn't quite reached maturity yet, and that means that he unfortunately isn't quite as powerful enough. I've seen his dad actually take carcasses that probably weigh double what that Nyala weighs up into a tree when he was a bit younger, when he was around sort of his prime 7-8 years. But since he's gotten a little bit older, he also struggles a bit. But this was a fair size for a leopard. I mean, this is a big animal, and Nyala is not a small carcass in any stretch of the imagination. But what an amazing sighting. That was so cool. It all happened so quickly. And you can see the hyena is now kind of covered in blood. They stick their heads right into the carcass. What's interesting is they actually feed very differently to what we see from a leopard. A leopard would have fed a lot slower, obviously, and would have eaten from the tail through that soft tummy section and then upwards, and then it would have gone over the back end and then eventually the head and legs, whereas hyenas will just go in wherever they can and start feeding. And if more hyenas arrive, it becomes a feeding frenzy of note, and everybody just grabs pieces and pulls. The problem is as this hyena is doing this and is starting to go towards the ribs, it's going to start cracking bones, and that cracking of bones is going to attract more hyenas for sure, and that poor leopard then might not get what he wants. So I'm hoping that this hyena just eats its fill, decides to go for water, and then leaves, and this leopard can get his carcass back. But it's tough being a leopard out here. It's not easy when you've got multiple other animals that want to steal from you. Insane. Poor Hosana. You can see he's breathing very heavily at the moment. It's a hot afternoon, and a lot of energy has been expended trying to catch that Nyala. It means he's now trying to catch his breath. But what an incredible sighting we've just had. That has really been absolutely amazing. We've been super spoiled to be able to have seen what we've just seen. We really, really have. Well, that's all we've got time for, and so we will bring this live again if anything major starts to happen. But I hope you enjoyed this, and we hope to see you soon on Safari Live. You can just Google Safari Live if you would like to continue watching, because we will stay out with this leopard for the majority of this afternoon. And so if you do want to carry on watching, you can jump on to that platform. But it's been an absolute pleasure. So from David and myself, we'll see you all next time. Whew, well, that was quite something. Poor Hosana, unfortunately, has lost his meal for now, but I'm pretty sure he's going to get it back. I have a feeling he will, so we'll just sit here and see how this all goes. And while we do that, let's send you back to Steve in the Mara, who I think is sitting still with the lions. Not quite sure, but either way, I'm sure those lions are having a really good rest. Hyena's not on the move at the moment. Hyena's still just scoffing its face as it would want to. It's really trying to get as much food out of this as possible. And what might happen, though, is when it realizes it can't eat anymore, it might actually start to try and drag this carcass away, and that might be Hosana's gap to try and actually get it. But poor Hosana, I feel so sorry for him, because it's a really seriously good meal that he's gotten himself, and he's managed to lose it. And at this time of the day, who would have thought that Hyena would have been patrolling this area and moving around? It must have just heard it from nearby. The carcass that Mfakazi and Hosana and Tingana were at is not too far from here, and that's probably what happened. But look at his chin. You can see even the blood on his chin from where he was trying in all likelihood to kill it. You can actually even see on the Nyala, so I do warn you, it is a bit gruesome. It's busy pulling off its ears at the moment. But the Nyala, you can actually see the blood coming from its neck from where he tried to actually kind of, strangle it and get that chokehold on. Now, sorry, Emma, if you can just repeat the name. I just broke up. Your car was driving next to us. Kerpel. How long will this meal last, Hyena? Well, it depends on how much the Hyena ends up getting, but a fair amount of time, I can tell you. Listen to that, though. It was actually, you could hear it crunching on the bone, but it stopped now. But this should last it. Oh, there we go. Like I say, if you are squeamish, so this would probably last this Hyena. I mean, it depends on how much it eats, but it theoretically would last it until tomorrow morning. I mean, this would be a serious meal. That Hyena is going to be swollen by the end of this. It's going to be full, and it still won't finish this carcass. So it's not enough, and there's more than enough there for both Hosana and the Hyena to get a good feed, as long as the Hyena doesn't actually end up kind of eating all of it and kind of taking the carcass away and dragging it potentially back towards others, or if others arrive. If others arrive, Hosana's got very little chance of getting this back at this stage, and the more this Hyena crunches away as it's doing now, the harder this is going to be for poor Hosana to actually get a meal again. So I do feel sorry for him in many respects. Unfortunately, it's a tricky one, because he's dragged it quite far. I can actually see the drag mark. It's come from close to the road area, and he's kind of dragged it towards here. And so he's probably very, very tired already after wrestling with that animal, as well as then dragging it. The strength would have been out, and so he needed a time just to catch his breath before he could try and hoist it. And he tried valiantly to do it, but it just ultimately was too heavy for him. But this Hyena theoretically would be able to feed again tomorrow if it really wanted to. It would just top up, but it wouldn't be able to eat as much as today. Peter, it's possible. I have seen leopard and hyena feed off a carcass at the same time, but very, very, very seldom does it happen. Leopards are sometimes very nervous, and so are hyenas. It's normally when you get quite a large male leopard and a young hyena that's too scared to challenge, and a male leopard that just doesn't, maybe is not quite as fully grown and doesn't quite want to challenge the hyena, and then the two of them sometimes do settle to feed, but it's never sort of amicable, and it's not ideal for either one. So you'll find that they'll try their very, very best to get it away from one another, and if Hosana can get it once it's lightened and he'll try and get it up into a tree as quick as possible, then he might be okay. You never know. It's one of those things where we know that this week he's lost a bushbuck kill to hyenas, and he managed to get that back, and so I'm hoping it's going to be more of the same today. It's just unfortunate that, unfortunately, the Oh, you can see he's kind of drag it away now, and poor Hyena is going to try and take this away. I'm sorry, Hosana, but I don't think you're going to get much left of your kill. There it goes. It's been kind of pushed and pulled and taken away from him, and the more that this is happening, like I say, this is more it's going to attract others. Anyway, we'll see what happens. There's still a lot to play out here, so while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor and see if those lions have considered those buffalo as yet. Indeed, unfortunately, the hyenas did win this so far, and they probably, in all likelihood, are going to continue to win it at this stage. Poor Hosana is kind of just watching as his meal is being devoured away. There's still a lot there, though. It looks like not that much, but I can promise you there's still quite a bit of meat. All 4 legs are still there. There's still a bit of the neck, and so he'll be able to eat quite a bit. But it's amazing how much damage a hyena can do in such a short space of time. You know, that hyena arrived here, and there was a whole Nyala, and now you look at it, and you see how that whole stomach has been opened, ribs have been eaten, and even the neck region is being guzzled down. So it is seriously amazing how much food these guys can put away. Its belly is starting to stretch, though. You can see that there's that swell that's starting to happen. And they'll continue to eat, though. Hyena's got a belly that seems to just never stop swelling out. It's quite incredible how much they do, but here you can see it. A right big, fat, healthy tummy. And we're going to have to get used to this, and so is Hosana. Now that there's a den on Juma, the hyenas are going to be here far more regularly than what they were before. And you can actually see that it's busy eating the kind of face area and trachea in that area, so it's quite rough, I'm afraid, which is not ideal. But anyway, hopefully he'll kind of have his fill now and move off and go and have some water, and Hosana can get this back. The problem is Hosana is going to have to take out that stomach. That stomach's going to make it very awkward to hoist. So if the hyena can grab all of that, then that's fine, and then Hosana can get all the good meat on the sides. But really is making short work of that one side of that Nyala very, very quickly indeed. And this, you can see what we were talking about and what Taylor was talking about this morning, and I spoke about it a few days ago, and how different what difference between carcasses being eaten by hyenas and wild dogs as opposed to the leopard. And that carcass that we saw in the tree up at near Buffelshoek Dam, it looks very similar to this. It's been stripped and kind of ribboned out by the hyenas. They don't have a feeding sort of pattern. They just eat from everywhere, as you can see there. I mean, the neck's been taken, a bit of the sort of stomach area, the head area, whereas a leopard would have started from that rump and would have slowly ate its way forward and would have been far more consistent about the way that it did, enormous surgical-like in comparison to the brute force power that the hyenas display. It's incredible to see kind of how much power these guys actually have in the ability to break down bones, particularly big thick bones like jaws and skulls, and even the sort of vertebra of the neck. Poor Hosana, though, I feel sorry for him. It's been a tough winter in many respects when it's come to food. He's really done well in finding a lot of food, but he's also had a serious struggle when it's come to keeping his food. So he's been good at catching and actually getting it, but keeping it is a whole different story for our poor young male. He's unfortunately lost more than he's probably kept at this stage, although, you know, can't moan too much. He's been scavenging off a kill for the last couple of days, so I suppose what goes around comes around for our young prince, and he'll learn valuable lessons for this. He'll definitely try and kind of figure out better ways. And I was as surprised as he is probably that hyenas are lurking at this time of the day and have run in and found him. It's really, wouldn't have expected it at all. Right, well, hyena's still devouring the carcass. We hope that it'll finish up soon and Hosana can get this back. We're going to be patient and wait. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Steve in the Mara, who's still sitting with his lions, and I wonder if they're going to be any active this afternoon. No, you know me too well by now that I will not be going anywhere. Unfortunately, I have this addiction and there's not really much I can do about it. It's not something I want to change anyway, about sitting with leopards as much as I can. I absolutely thoroughly enjoy it. And poor Hosana is still watching his carcass being torn apart. The hyena is still going at it, and it's slowed its feeding rate right down now. It's kind of eating away at the skull more than anything else, and so has crunched a few bones and has kind of licked things up. But the longer it stays here for, the more it worries me, because the darkness will start coming, and that's when you're going to see a little bit more hyenas arriving, or a few more hyenas, should I say. Very bad English, but a few more hyenas should be arriving, and that will not be ideal at all for poor Hosana. So I'm hoping that this male finishes up and then is done and moves off. Now, for those of you who know the Juma clan members, I've been scrolling through a whole bunch of ID kits that were kindly sent to me by Michael Fleetwood, who does a very good job at identifying hyenas, along with many of you that know the hyenas super well. And so it looks like Koza. I think it's Koza. Is that maybe somebody can confirm for me? But he's got a bit of a cut on the top of his head at the moment, that kind of his little red mark that I've seen on his head for the last few days, and then he's got this archway of spots on his right side that's normally the easiest way to sort of tell. Obviously now he's facing with his left side to us at the moment. That makes it a little bit more tricky, but on his right side there's a way to tell. Now there is another car that's going to be coming in, so poor Tax has had to sit and look at nothing but a bush for the last 10 minutes, but I just wanted to move slightly forward and just so that we can get a better view of Hosana's face. It's not going to be by much, and Tax will still be able to get in. How's that, David? Is that a bit better? There we go. So it still allows space for poor Tax, who's been waiting so patiently for, like I say, about 20 minutes looking at just a guarri bush. It's a very tricky area. There's only really space for 2 cars to see, and so I just wanted to move a little bit so we can see Hosana's face, but still allow Tax enough space that he can actually see what's going on as well. But how incredible an afternoon. And we've had the Nkuhuma Pride with all their tag-alongs at the moment. It's amazing. They seem to be growing in numbers without having cubs, which is quite odd. And then lions up in the Mara as well. Down here in the Sabi Sands, obviously we've got Hosana that's providing entertainment, and that other kill that we haven't quite figured out who it is just yet, and we don't really know who exactly is there. Now look, Hosana's sneaking in. I wonder if he's going to try and steal this back. He might do so. He's going to just have a little look and see. He was just thought maybe he got an opportunity or a whiff to be able to get in there and get to that carcass before this hyena kind of carried on. But no, sorry Hosana, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, I'm afraid. Now what I'm going to do is try and see if I can just maybe move back a little bit now that Hosana's out in the open, for Tax to be able to see a little bit better. I'm just going to move slightly back a little bit so that they can get in a little bit more. Right, now, while I kind of reposition and sort everything out and we get everybody in the right places, let's send you back across to Steve in the Mara. Now, hopefully his lions, who sound like they've been playful and have done quite a bit, carry on doing so, and that they provide him with more entertainment during the course of the afternoon. Well, not all of them. It's just another one that's arrived, and it's causing a little bit of friction between them, and they're having a little go at each other. And so, unfortunately, though, that's the end of it, because they would have made enough noise now to actually get these other hyenas to come in. And as soon as the likes of Pretty and Corky arrive here, the big females, there's no chance. This whole kind of carcass will be destroyed in seconds. So unfortunately at this stage, I don't think there's going to be much left. It's pretty amazing what hyenas can do, a single hyena, and now 2 of them, what can do to a Nyala carcass in the space of an hour. But poor Hosana, I think that's the end of that. I don't think he's going to get anything out of this, I'm afraid. I'm pretty sure that his kind of carcass is going to be pilfered completely. I don't think he's going to be able to steal this back. He might get a little leg or something, but other than that, the more that these 2 fight with one another, and the more that they go at each other, the more that's going to attract others. And I'm pretty sure we're going to start to see the whole clan arriving here fairly shortly. There was a squeal that was let out as the second one arrived, and that meant that we had a little bit more noise in the air, and that will certainly attract the rest of them. Like I said, the den's not that far, neither is the last carcass that we had yesterday, and so if they're milling about in that area, well, they're going to hear that and come fairly quickly. You can see that they kind of, one is finished almost eating now, is not really interested. There we go, you're going to try and drag it away a little bit further. Amazing the strength, even in a small hyena like that, to be able to drag it around. Yes, now Intima, I thought it might be Intima. I just wanted to double check, but it is Intima. Thank you, Crystal. I thought it was her, and the way she ran in, it looked like her. She was quite dominant over the carcass in some respects. She didn't take any nonsense from Koza at all. So you can see she's now left feeding, and Koza's kind of off to the side feeding on the little scraps that are down below. But Hosana, I'm sorry, boy. It's always sad when he loses a kill. I feel so bad for him because he tries so hard. We know how much he stalks and how many animals he chases and how often he tries this. And the fact that he hasn't gotten anything is out of this is a bit of a shame. He didn't even get a feed at least. I was hoping at least if he had gotten a good feed out of it and then lost it, it's one thing. But he didn't really get anything out of it at all. It was one little bite out of the bum. And you've got a leaf stuck to your face, Hosana. Look, he's got a leaf stuck to his mouth. It's just not a good day at all. Not ideal. Yes, get rid of it. There we go. You don't look as hardcore. It doesn't look as hardcore if you have a leaf stuck to your whiskers, Hosana. But yes, terrible, terrible day, I'm afraid, for poor Hosana. He's unfortunately lost his meal. A leaf is sticking to his face and, well, not really going his way, is it? Shame. Oh well. It's, like I say, the harsh realities of life, and he'll learn from this. Teresa, yes, he does look sad, doesn't he? I suppose you would be sad too if you had gone through all the effort to get yourself a... Imagine cooking like a 3-course meal, slaving away over a hot stove all day, and then as you prepare it and sit down to eat it, somebody else comes and takes it away from you and eats it right in front of you. It would not be a nice feeling at all. So poor Hosana is going to have to learn the hard way. And like I said, these are all valuable lessons. As much as it is sad and it doesn't, makes a lot of people kind of hate hyenas. It's not the hyenas' fault. They're also out here just to eat, and an opportunity presented itself. And Hosana, like I say, will learn from it. Big animals mean that he's going to lose them, and so he's going to have to figure out how to not take big animals in order to get them up into trees, or start getting stronger in order to be able to do it. So, now you can see he's not happy. Hyenas are getting closer. Look. He's going to try and steal... Oh. No, he's run down into the drainage line. I can't see him at all. There he is. So he's in a tree on the other side, which is interesting. Okay, let's try and get round and see if we can get to him. I think he'll try and kind of sneak back this way anyway, but let's try get round. Well, you're good at encouraging people, Taylor, so hopefully you'll be able to encourage the lions to actually start to do something. But Hosana is longingly looking up at the top of the bank, where unfortunately his carcass is being devoured slowly but surely. It's also being covered in sand at this stage. The male causer is just covering it with sand at the moment and kind of kicking it all over the place. I don't know why he's doing it. It's not something that you see hyenas do all that often. They generally are not too worried. It could be that he's trying not to attract too much attention to it, or he could be going to the toilet. Is he going to the toilet there? Might be that he's going to the toilets. That's how they do sometimes scent mark. It's by scratching and going to and defecating. It looks like he actually might be defecating at the moment. Yes, he is. I can see his tail's in the air there. So he is definitely going to the toilet. So that explains all the dust and sand and scrapings that he's doing. So you often see that from males. They do it from time to time. And Timo's got the most of the carcass on the backside there. There's no other hyenas that have arrived. We came down into the drainage just in case Hosana managed to steal himself a bit of a meal, but he hadn't, unfortunately. He didn't get what he was trying to go after in the form of the stomach contents. So for now, he's left just watching as the hyenas devour his carcass on top of the banks of the Mulwati. Sorry, boy. Ivy, you say you still don't like hyenas, but you don't hate them? Well, I know it's a bit of a love-hate relationship with hyenas sometimes. When they do these kind of things, kind of get a bit annoyed with them, but they are incredible animals, and like I say, they're just doing what is natural to them. It's the same as the poor Nyala that was living at the start of this game drive that is now not living thanks to the leopard, and then ultimately the hyenas. So you can apply it to everything. Everything's got to do its business, and hyenas are just doing what comes naturally. It's not like they are sinister animals that are stealing, and it could have been Tingana that did this. It could have been lions that would have run in. So it's not just them that are stealing from Hosana on a day-to-day basis. There's others out here doing the same thing. So as much as it's horrible to see, and kind of hyenas tend to get the blood boiling a lot more than all of the others, it is part of nature, and poor Hosana, unfortunately, is not going to be the last kill he loses from these guys. But every time he does, he will start to learn a little bit more about how to not let it happen again, and how to kind of go about his business and make sure that he keeps his meal to himself as much as possible. But that's going to take time, and it's going to take experience. And so, it's all part of growing up. We always forget how young he is. At 2 years and 8 months, theoretically he would just be beginning his journey as an individual leopard, whereas we know he's been doing it for quite some time now. And so he's gaining valuable experience early on in life, and eventually I think he's going to, figure it all out and probably find that he won't lose nearly as many as he gets a bit older. Also, as he gets stronger and more developed and physically more powerful, so it's going to become a lot easier for him to hoist carcasses like that and be able to put them up into a tree. I just feel bad for him because he actually did everything right. He dragged it to the nearest tree long before hyenas arrived. He tried to kind of start eating, and then he tried to take it up in a tree as the hyenas got here, but unfortunately it's just too big and too heavy for him at his current size to actually get it right. Also, the tree that he chose in some aspects was a bit awkward for him. If he had had a tree that maybe had a bit of a branch that came out over the drainage line, he would have had a bit more of a sort of go at it. And this particular tree is really not easy to hoist in. The kind of tree that, well, where he can hoist it is so high up, so you'd have to be aiming for somewhere there, because this area here, which is where he got to, you can see the bank is too close. If that branch came straight out at us towards the vehicle, then he could have just hopped onto that branch and brought the carcass all the way out, and the hyenas wouldn't have done that. But he would have had to go very, very high. And funny enough, he is not the first leopard that I've seen lose kills at this particular tree. I've seen Tingana lose a kill here, and Tandi's also lost a kill, and Tamba, I think, has also lost a kill at this particular tree as well. So most of them have had a bit of a bad experience. It's a bit deceiving because they drag it there and think they can get up, but it's just unfortunate it doesn't have any kind of horizontal branches that really work, other than way up there, which would have been fine for a duiker or a steenbok, but not for a massive Nyala, I'm afraid. And so in Hosana, next time you have to choose a different tree. Now, one is a little bit easier to kind of hoist over, so you'll get it right eventually. It's all, like I say, part of growing up and part of becoming a big leopard. But it still doesn't make it feel any better, does it? I still feel sad for him and wish that he had kept his kill. A lot of hard work goes into stalking a Nyala. It's not easy. And we know, we've seen him doing how many different Nyala hunts over the past few months, particularly at the dam. He's tried his utmost best to hunt Nyala and never really got it right. And so it's a bit sad that, finally gets a really kind of good deal and gets a nice, decent-sized one, and unfortunately loses out. Anyway, like I say, it's all lessons.